Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls shock your soul, seal your doom tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons speak with such a screech. You'll shake and shudder in surprise when you hear these zombies shriek. We're so sorry, skeletons, you're so misunderstood. You only want to socialize, but I don't think we should. A spooky, scary skeleton shouts startling, shrilly screams. They sneak under sarcophagus and just won't leave you be.
Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we are spookified, a pumpkin, whatever you want to call it. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the spooky books I am reading in October, and most specifically for the Fortnite Frights Readathon. So the Fortnite Frights Readathon is hosted by Seiji from The Artisan Geek. It is a 2-week fortnight long readathon from the 18th to the 31st of October, so the last 2 weeks of October. So the main idea of the Fortnite Frights Readathon is to read frightening, spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Yeah, spooky, scary books, like horror books, atmospheric books, macabre, but reading those books and reading widely within that genre in an inclusive and accessible way. I don't read too much horror or thrillers. I'm getting a lot more into thrillers actually, but it is definitely a genre that is very heavily dominated by whiteness, by able-bodied people. It is really important to dive past just reading Stephen King when thinking about horror. So I'm really excited to take part in this readathon. Seiji has created an absolute plethora of resources. If you head to the website, there's a compendium, which is where I've picked 2 of my books from. There is a bingo board card. Then there are also 4 live discussion books, and there'll be obviously live discussions and there's guest hosts, and one of them is even with the author. So it's just a really great, fun 2 weeks. And so I've kind of picked my books accordingly. Some of them are the live book discussions books, some of them are from the compendium, and then some are just not at all, but obviously fit in with the prompts. I also really enjoy it because Seiji also has a pumpkin costume. It feels like a really fitting outfit to wear doing my Fortnite Frights TBR because she also has a pumpkin costume. So pumpkins unite. Let's get on with the TBR. So I have picked 6 books. Wait, I am under no illusion that I'm going to be reading all 6 books. I will eventually, but I'm very bad at TBRs. I like to give myself options. So I have picked a selection of options for me to read from. So I've got 3 audiobooks, and then 2 books I've got from the library, and then 1 book is my friend's book. So I don't actually own any of these books, but I know myself and I'm giving myself options. So for the readathon, there are 2 challenges that you can pick from. One of them is simply to score bingo on the bingo card, and then the second challenge you can choose from is to combine 2 bingo prompts. There's also a bonus challenge in Let's to read one of the live discussion books. Okay, so the first book I'm going to be reading is Blindness by Jose Saramago. This book fulfills 3 of the prompts on the bingo board. It features disabled characters, it is written by a mainland European, and finally, it is a translation. It was originally written in Portuguese and it was translated into the English by Giovanni Pontiero. I found this one on the compendium list and it really stuck out to me, and I had a look through and it sounded really interesting, so I got it out of the library. Some people might not want to read at the moment because it's a post-apocalyptic, epidemic, like quarantining kind of novel. So I'd get it if you don't want to read it right now, but I'm very intrigued. And so it basically is all about this epidemic of blindness that happens, and this guy, I think he starts in his car and he just suddenly gone blind. He gets out of his car and it's contagious, and so the people he sees, they then become blind. And then the government are unsure what to do with all of these people and unsure where to quarantine them. And so they find these abandoned mental health hospitals, and that's where they put them. And that is all I know. I mean, that is yikes on so many levels, just with that like synopsis. So I'm really, really intrigued to give this one a go. The second book I'm going to be reading is The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This one fulfills the prompt of a translated piece and also by an author from Asia. Han Kang is from South Korea. It is translated from the Korean into the English by Deborah Smith. So this one I've borrowed from my friend Alice, so thank you Alice. I've had it for a very long time, so I should probably give it a read. I've heard so many things about this book. I know that it's not really about being a vegetarian, although at the beginning this woman decides that she's going to stop eating meat. Where she is, that's a really shocking act of subversion, and from there it's weird, it's dark. My friend Ella described it as, what did she say? It's like shocking and brilliant, but also like really uncomfortable. Yeah, it's time I ought to actually give it a read. The final physical book I have with me that I'm going to be reading is Not a Sound by Heather Gudenkopf. This one fulfills the prompt of a disabled main character. The main character is deaf. So this one is a thriller, and it follows a nurse called Amelia, and she is in an accident, and that is how she has lost her hearing. After that, she falls into depression and she loses a lot around her, but the story actually follows her 2 years on. She is doing a lot better, and she has a hearing dog called Stitch, and I believe the story starts when they discover the body of a fellow nurse, and things ring a little bit too close to home. I am really excited about this one. I think those two are a little bit more out of my comfort zone. Blindness specifically, I think, because I know that the formatting is a little different and the style of writing. I believe Jose Saramago doesn't use what are these called? Quotation marks, yeah, speech marks, yeah. So in that kind of way, it's a little out of my comfort zone, and it's a classic. I'm trying not to focus on that too much, and I'm really going to try and just sink myself into the story. Whereas this one, I've been really getting into thrillers lately, and I'm really excited to pick up a thriller that actually does feature a deaf main character. Yeah, and I'm really excited to give this one a go. Okay, so the last 3 books I have are all going to be on audiobooks. I'm under no illusion that I'm going to finish 3 audiobooks in 2 weeks, but range, selection, choice. So the first one I'm planning on reading is Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. This is one of the live book discussions, and my friend Natalia is actually going to be one of the guest hosts, so I was really excited to give this one a read and then watch that live discussion. This one fulfills the prompts of a translated piece and a short story. It's a short story collection. It was published in Spanish and then translated into the English by Megan McDowell. So I don't have a solid grip on this one, I guess because it's a collection of short stories, they're all going to be a bit different. I know it's very kind of like mixes the classic with like gothic horror, which is quite out of my comfort zone, but I'm really excited to kind of move out of my comfort zone. I believe they are set in Argentina, and it kind of brings contemporary Argentina to life, but in a quite dark way. Yeah, so that is the first audiobook. So the second audiobook I'm planning on reading is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This one fulfills the prompt of an Indigenous author, and it might fulfill the prompt of a dark fantasy. I'm not really sure. I also don't really know what the definition of a dark fantasy is, but I think this one might have fantastical elements, and it definitely seems dark from the synopsis. Let me know if you think that would fulfill that prompt. So this one follows 4 American Indian men in their adulthood after a very traumatizing event that's happened to them in their childhood. I believe the event that happened in their childhood is now making them struggle, so that maybe that's like the fantastical element. I'm not really sure, but it sounds really intriguing, and it also plays with themes of revenge and traditions and cultural identity as well. And overall, this just sounds like a really great horror to read from someone that doesn't read horror that often. This is the kind of horror that stands out to me and grabs my attention. And this one is also a live book discussion, so if for whatever reason I don't manage to get to the other one, I'm still fulfilling the prompt of a live book discussion. Okay, well, on to the final audiobook and the final book of this TBR, and that is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I have been loving Tiffany D. Jackson recently. I have read Allegedly and Monday's Not Coming both this year, and I'm eager to just keep reading her books. This one fulfills the prompt of written by a Black or African author. So this one, I haven't read too much into it because especially with Tiffany D. Jackson's books, there's usually a twist at some point, and I don't want to spoil myself on that. From her other books, I would just say be cautious if you are triggered by anything and have a research before reading her books. So Grown follows a girl called Enchanted, and she wakes up with blood on her hands. She's unsure why there's blood on her hands and what has happened. And at the same time, the musician Corey Fields is dead. And so it's like, what has happened? Yeah, I'm really excited to read this, even though, yeah, her books are really hard and dark, but it's the characters that always get me. They are always so compelling, and I'm so excited to dive into another Tiffany D. Jackson book. So that is the last one. Okay, that's it. That's the TBR. Thank you so much for watching. Are you taking part in any readathons in October? Let me know. I found it really hard to pick which readathon to fully take part in. There were so many good ones. Gothtober's happening at the moment, Black Aweenathon is happening, and Fortnite Frights is happening, along with many others. My friends Sophie, Sarah and Lois are hosting a crime readathon. There's just lots of great readathons to choose from, so have a research. I'm really excited for this readathon. It's really allowing me to branch and giving me prompts to branch out of my comfort zone of what I would usually read, which is what I've been really loving doing this year. Yeah, so that's it. Make sure to check out the Fortnite Frights website. Stacey has put a lot of work into this, so be sure to check it out. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you think, and I will see you in a new video. Bye.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul.